Hey guys, this is your host Eric. Today we are going to watch sci-fi genre movie called Higher Power. Spoilers ahead, turn on your subtitle. I greatly appreciate your support. Enjoy the video. This film conveys a profound message about the relationship between fathers and daughters. Make sure to keep watching until the end to find out. The film begins with a quote in which he declares that he will create his own god to save the world. The controller, a Maw scientist, is conducting research on a power that can transform a man into a superhuman. When a mysterious man contacts him via encrypted messages, telling him that he knows about the professor's work and that he has been kicked out of the organization, the man offers a plan to bring the research into the organization. This will be used to prevent the impending apocalypse. Because the invention requires a subject, the controller immediately begins a DNA analysis search until he finds a man named Joseph of Stedman. The scene shifts to an interview with astrophysicist Michael Swafford, who claims that the Gare burst will be the last thing seen by humanity before the apocalypse. He believes that a massive star will collapse, releasing two narrow gamma-ray beams. This planet is directly in the path of the beam zone, that the Earth will be annihilated. Joseph, or Joe, on the other hand, is a recovering alcoholic who works as a security guard at Red Lock. He replaced the old recording of him spending quality time with his daughter on a beach. He said 3 magic words to his daughter Zoe, 143, which stands for I love you. The controller has been watching and filming everything Joe does. The system then reveals that Joe is receiving psychiatric treatment for depression and suicidal ideation, and as a result, he wishes to kill. He also has an anger issue. Unfortunately, Zoe only makes matters worse for his father. Joe, she believes, is to blame for her mother's death, and she despises him for it. Surprisingly, she has a romantic relationship with Michael. Rhea, Zoe's younger sister, on the other hand, is a drug addict who is constantly exploited by a pimp named Nico. The controller's men continue to follow and track Joey's daughter's movements. Michael mentions finding someone who increases the possibility of a more optimistic future for man while at the library. According to a recording, Joey had a happy family before his wife died. Ray was still a happy teenager, and Zoe adored her father. He then attempts to reconnect with Zoe, but it appears that his daughter does not wish to see him again. He even punches Michael, which enraged Zoe while driving that night. Joey tries to call Rhea to try to make things right with her, but she doesn't answer the phone. He then pulls over and resumes drinking while flashbacking his memories. He promised her that he would keep their family together, but he didn't. A few moments later, a man hiding in the backseat kidnaps him and takes him to the controller. He inserts a chip into Joey's eyes, allowing him to see what he sees, show him what the controller wants to see, and communicate with him. Joe has awakened. The controller coerces him into grabbing a pistol and murdering a woman. He initially resists, but he threatens him that his man will murder his daughter. Joe reluctantly obeys his command. The gun was empty, and the woman was a controller's agent testing his obedience. A massive star has just exploded, and the beam is now heading towards Earth. Joe awakens, and the controller orders him to break into his boss's home. Charles, his boss, is the president of Red. While being monitored, Joe managers enters and orders Charles to bring him the safe where a laptop is kept. He then scans his finger on the fingertip scanner, which reveals that Joe's DNA is compatible. Charles sees an opportunity and hits Joe with a vase, taking away his gun. He notices the optic impact and realizes the controller is the man behind this. It turns out that Charles was the controller's boss, and he explains why he fired him from the project, claiming that it was too dangerous. After that, Charles is killed by a drone. Joe is ordered to cut the man's thumb and then flees. He continues on with his mission. This time, the controller orders him to go to Red Lock's headquarters in Bonn. Arriving, he is instructed to wear a mask while a drone drops gas bombs, which instantly kills all Red Locks. The controller explains that their lives are insignificant in comparison to the larger goal of saving the world. Joe then enters the main facility and uses his boa's thumb to open a door that leads to a massive generator. Joey is forced to enter the massive device if he wants his daughter to survive. The generator begins to work, producing a very bright light that eventually alters the DNA sequence within Joe's body. The generator explodes shortly after, and the controller reports to his higher power that the mission was successful. Zoe watches the news and regrets her actions toward her father. Previously, Joe, who had been covered in A4, awakens in his house and discovers that he now possesses vast superpowers. When he is angry, he can emit a purple destructive beam from his body, which astounds the controller. Joe can now start a motorcycle without a key, allowing him to reach his full potential. Joe is directed to Nico's location by the controller. He gets to the brothel in Vines. Nico, who knocks him over with the camera's flashlight. Recognizing Joe as Ree's father, Nico purposefully shows a video of Red being seduced by him. Joe is enraged, and he suddenly misses a very bright light, destroying the entire area. However, the controller is dissatisfied because Joe has yet to develop or meet the required stress level. Nico's friend tries to kill him, but the superhuman is bulletproof. The Pi tries to hit Joe with his car, but instead he casts a gamma ray beam that instantly kills Nico. A few moments later, the police arrested him, and Joe was taken into custody. Because the cops believe Joe is a terrorist, the controller instructs him to inform the detective that he has planted bombs at a Four Rivers shipyard, which causes him to panic, and they rush to the shipyard. The controller then informs Joe that if he does not arrive before the police, they will be killed by the explosion. He then flees the police station and drives to the shipyard in a stolen car. He is, however, distracted by other police officers. As a result of his abilities, he transforms into a light blast and travels at the speed of light. The controller's men, on the other hand, arrive at Zoe's house and kidnap her and her boyfriend, while the police arrive at the shipyard and begin searching for bombs. Fortunately, Joe arrives on time and manages to take the container containing the bombs before it explodes. However, the debris strikes the plane's engine, causing it to crash. Joe uses his power to keep the plane from hitting the ground and transport it to a safer location. Joe arrives at Zoe's house to discover that she has been kidnapped and that the controller has threatened to kill her. He can track her location simply by touching the laptop screen and rushes there to save his daughter. He casts an electromagnetic shield to protect his daughter upon his arrival. The controller's men try to shoot him, but they're wasting their bullets because it has no effect that it's superhuman. He easily eliminates them, astounded that her grandfather is still alive. Zoe finally apologizes to him for her actions. However, it was later revealed that the mysterious man who had contacted a controller earlier was Michael. Meanwhile, the Gare beam is getting closer to Earth, and Michael grabs a pistol and shoots Zoe to death in front of her father. Joey is enraged and murders him. He realizes, however, that he is powerless to save his daughter. He apologizes for abandoning her after his wife. To make matters worse, the controller's men track down and murder Rhea. While the controller broadcasted Joe's life, the death of his daughters causes Joe to reach the pinnacle of his rage. He begins to emit a massive amount of purple light that spreads across the entire planet. The light even reaches his space, forming an electromagnetic barrier that completely covers and protects the Earth. Trapped in the control state's final words that he has successfully created a god tired of his bull. Joe murders him in order to silence him for good. However, Michael and the controller's plan to save the world is a huge success because Joe's superpower absorbs all of the incoming gamma ray beams, preventing the Earth from being destroyed. On the other hand, Jill's promise to his late wife has finally been fulfilled as he uses his power to resurrect and regroup both of his daughters. At the end of the film, Ray and Zoe meet at the beach, and it appears that Joe has permanently transformed into a superhuman form. We really appreciate you watching. If you enjoy this video, please give it a like. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel with the notification bell because it is really important for us. Thank you.